Alright fellas, here we are back on Pokemon Masters, and today we're taking a look here at Eusine and Shiny Suicune at 60x, 3 out of 5, with the Tech EX roll now unlocked. So, been a little bit of a time waiting. I had been wanting Eusine's EX roll quite a bit, and well, he's finally got it. He got the Tech EX roll, which does apply, of course, a power buff to his sync move, on top of giving him plus 20 in every stat, and I think a little bit more in HP. I don't remember. Either way, his stats are definitely respectable, a lot more respectable now. 362 special attack is definitely a lot better than the 342 he was rocking prior. Even lower than that if you don't have him level 150 or 6 EX, anything like that, right? The only real thing that kind of held Eusine back was his lower offensive stats, so that being helped a little bit with the Tech X roll on top of the extra power buff on the Sync Nuke is definitely going to make him look a lot stronger. I've went over his abilities in the last video, but of course, just to summarize, he's able to maximize his offenses with his trainer move, which uses 3 gauge. He's got some decent ice damage when on type with Blizzard. His main course meal, I guess, is Purifying Surf, which is activated whenever the user uses any move twice. It's got 176 base power at 3 out of 5, as well as hitting all enemies with a 20% chance to flinch, and the power and chance of flinching are not decreased when attacking multiple enemies. So he's got good AoE damage. Whirlpool for leaving the enemy trapped, because a lot of his gimmicks are related to Trap, with Trap and buff 5 here in the passives, as well as Trap and Sync 5 in the grid, and Stationary Target 2. So he does want Trap. He's got good gauge efficiency with Recharging Strike. He's got some good options for lucky skills with Weathered Warrior, Critical Strike 2, all of that stuff. And of course, he's obviously got great partners in the form of like Sygna Kris, New Champion, Serena, Sygna Lysander, and all of that stuff, right? So we're going to take a look at Eusine here at 3 to 5 6-star AX in a few different situations and just see how big of an upgrade that this guy has gotten. So let's go ahead and hop into the battles. So our first battle here is against the Challenge A Super Serious Annabelle Ultimate Battle. Yeah, that's pretty pretty big jump, I guess, in terms of, the usual stadium difficulty. But the reason for this is that, like, I could go against the Waterweek Stadium, which there is not one out right now, so that'd be technically impossible at the moment. But I think it's better to go against Annabelle, where you can really see how much the damage that Eusine's upgrade does in order to make him look better. It's a massive increase for sure. This team was already capable of beating the Ultimate Battle prior, as showcased by Zinfogel when Annabelle released, this Ultimate Battle released. But with the upgrade to Eusine, with the Tech EX roll, the damage that he's able to output is a lot higher now. So it does make the Ultimate Battle a little bit easier. This is not necessarily a showcase, quote-unquote, on how to actually beat the Ultimate Battle. It's more so a look at what Eusine's damage cap can be in this longer battle content, where the damage is actually quite necessary in order to win. And as seen, Eusine is able to do 16,000 damage on that first Surf there, which is really good. Of course, under Rain and Water rebuff and whatnot, but still, definitely very impressive without much doubt, for sure. Under some special moves next, with however many, I don't think that's any special defense debuffs actually. Yeah, 25,000 damage there on that Surf, that's very good. And once we use the Sync move here, which I believe has Double Down, Brain Power, and Trap and Sync, plus the innate Trap and Buff 5 passives, so about 220% total multipliers for the nuke. How much damage does he do on the Sync move here? 99,000 damage. Very, very impressive for sure. That's very, very nice. And of course it is under, Water rebuff and Rain. And now the enemy has, how many special defense debuffs is that? -2. Very nice. And with super effective next, 63,000 damage there. Also very, very spectacular in terms of damage. So the Tech X roll definitely does increase his damage output by a ton, right? Obviously, mostly going to be overkill when it comes to doing on-type water damage, right? Obviously, the caveat to that is the Ultimate Battles, where obviously there is not exactly anything called overkill, I would say. I mean, obviously you can kind of go a little bit too hard on an Ultimate Battle, whether it be like, Dirac with New Champion Silver, Paolo, 5 out of 5 Sygna Diantha, or whatever, but still, For the most part, it is pretty difficult, I would say, in order to go too overboard on an ultimate battle. So this setup here is definitely not exactly what I would call overkill. Obviously, for like Stadium, it would be, but for this, I would say it's pretty justified. So Eusine now being a very solid damage dealer, specifically for this ultimate battle with his upgrade, is very nice. Like 160,000 damage there, that's extremely good, right? Like I don't think anyone's going to contest that and say that it is not an extremely good amount of damage. Like that would be absurd. Another Purifying Surf here now, 74,000 damage, very, very good. That was a winning attack there. That flinch, I think, was pretty much necessary in order to get us the win, and otherwise we probably would have taken a little bit too much. Maybe it wasn't necessary. I'm not too sure. Either way, doesn't really matter too much. Take the Heat Wave here. That's probably the final AoE attack we really can take before actually going down. I think Kris does go down to this. No, she doesn't. We almost do, though. Very, very close. 2% health left. How much damage do we do without rain, right? So obviously, no Weathered Warrior activation, which I don't think we have anyway, so that's fine. But obviously no 50% nuke multiplier there from the rain, or damage multiplier. 152,000 damage still, no less. So, yeah. Eusine's damage under the ultimate battle is very good, and I'm looking at these ultimate battles as a way to, I guess, damage test is very, very solid, in my opinion. Anyway, looking at what you can really get a character to do under these longer battle setups where you're not just wiping the enemy, doing 1,000,000 damage and taking away the enemy's entire health, right? Which these ultimate battles are probably the best thing for. So Eusine's on-type damage, extremely, extremely buffed by that Tech EX roll. That big boost in his nuke damage is very, very solid. And of course, with the massive amount of help that Water already has in the form of Sygna Suit Kris, new champion Serena, Dahlia, and whoever else for buffing water types, Eusine's obviously going to have an upgrade specifically from that. Does it make him the best water damage dealing character? No, but it does make him a very viable option for those who would want to run him. Here for a basic off-type. Yeah, we're not going to exactly off-type any ultimate battles with Eusine, though I'm sure it's possible. I mean, I'm not exactly willing to try that. I'm not going to turn my channel into an ultimate battle-centered channel. Not, especially because I'm definitely not. I'm not of the patience for that. Anyway, the setup here focuses more on enhancing Eusine, less so for himself, but more so with other damage dealers, right? Enhancing him by enhancing overall team damage, I guess, per se, would be the best way to word it. Either way, Eusine is our main focus for a damage dealer here, with Lysander for short bursts of damage with Steam Eruption, and Calum here, of course, with the setup for, setting up his buddy move, getting the rain, special moves next, and all of that jazz, whatever else, right? And also, I guess, topping off the special attack for Eusine because of I think Caitlyn lowers special attack on entry, so having Caleb there in order to top us off is nice. Obviously, having Lysander and Caleb together does give us a little bit of the master passive too, so this buff is under that. 9,000 damage for a first sync is very nice. I think it would have been more effective in this battle if I were to have taken Eusine and instead done support X with Caleb first, and then obviously nuked with him afterwards. But I wanted to more so look at his damage, I guess, I don't know, quicker. I guess that would be the best word. I'm not too sure. Either way, doesn't really matter too much. Got ourselves the rain up still, using our next Purifying Surf without any special moves next. 3,000 damage. It's definitely not too shabby. Could be better, could definitely be worse, though. 100%. Does end up missing there in the Purifying Surf. I think ends up flinching. Yeah, very nice. Flinches are definitely useful here, and obviously we do really desire the rain. Well, rather, Eusine really desires the rain for the most part, because obviously without it, he does not have a Weathered Warrior activated, whether that be a lucky skill or a grid skill, or both, right? Which could make you miss out on a ton of nuking and DPS multipliers. So it would have been a little bit better if I probably would have run Caleb without half MP, but for the most part, didn't really have much trouble there. Not too bad of an off type, and of course, Eusine can be more focused than having a dual striker setup. You could definitely run him alongside someone like Dahlia or Neo Champion Serena, as previously stated and proven, in order to enhance his damage and also have still a decent form of side damage available to you. But of course, the double striker setup still can work. Less so this one specifically, because the gauge, of course, did become an issue towards the end there. But if you have some proper investment, or if you have some other way of managing gauge, whether that be by the grid or whatever else, then you can obviously mitigate some of those issues. But for the most part, Eusine still works extremely well off type, and of course, you could still run it with other partners like Sygna, Kris, New Champion, Sygna, Dolly, or whatever, if you really feel that his damage should be enhanced in a way other than a dual striker setup. And to end off here for fun, we have a free-to-play Ice-type damage dealing setup. I was kind of interested in going for someone like Eriott instead of Candace for the Ice on-type damage, but really, at that point, it would kind of just become the Eriott show, so I didn't really want to do that, and so I ended up going with BP Candace, because she's still able to set Hail, activate Weathered Warrior, and do some overall good damage with Blizzard here. I should have set Eusine's lucky skill to be Weathered Warrior, but it is still Critical Strike 2, so do consider that most of these battles either utilize unoptimal unoptimal lucky skills, or lucky skills that don't necessarily enhance damage, I guess, in the perfect way, because I did run Critical Strike 2, I believe, for this entire battle, whereas Weathered Warrior probably, I don't know if it would have been better for the last setup, specifically because we did run out of range towards the end, but it was definitely better to run Critical Strike 2 in the ultimate battle because of the lack of rain more so towards the end. So keep that in mind. It probably would have been better to run Critical Strike 2 unless you can really maintain your rain or hail or whatever else you may be running him in. So whatever you choose to, go ahead, do that. Be sure to maintain it, or just run Critical Strike 2 as a lucky skill, whichever is completely up to you, of course. Eusine's Blizzard damage is definitely not too bad. It does, of course, have the focus of being AoE, so while Gauge is not necessarily an issue because of Recharging Strike, the damage can be kind of an issue for the most part if you are dealing with having multiple enemies. Whereas Purifying Surf does not face that problem because obviously the biggest gimmick with it is that it does not have split damage across multiple enemies, whereas Blizzard still does. So despite having a 50% multiplier of Super Duper Effect of 5 dedicated solely to it, it does still suffer from that fact, which is a little annoying for sure, but overall, I mean, still able to get a good free-to-play win-in with two very free-to-play partners. Would, of course, been enhanced better with someone like Grusha or Eriott, in order to give you some good Ice Zone help and whatever else, right? So just keep all that in mind when using Eusine. That was a very free-to-play oriented team, so just keep all that stuff in mind. But yeah, either way, Hail was not necessarily required in order to upgrade Eusine's damage, but it was there to activate Weathered Warrior. So if you want yourself some free multipliers to run with ice damage, run him with a Hail setter. But of course, you could not run a Hail setter if you are just out of Eriott or Grusha, or you don't want to run someone like Candace, Palatine's Candace, or another Hail setting character. It's just completely up to you. Either way, though, Eusine overall as a character, definitely very good. Pretty outclassed because of Water's overall insanely high ceiling for power and overall competition, but definitely can be used in a lot of the top content. As stated, right, he's able to clear Annabelle without much issue alongside, the best partners, or the right partners specifically. He's obviously able to he's going to be fine against the Stadium. He's not really meant for the Gauntlet, being a striker and all of that, but he probably can do something decent with Disarm 9 in the grid. I think I have like 5 out of 5 or whatever. And a few other things he may be able to do fine in that game mode, but or at least some of the easier legendary arenas. But for the most part, he's going to be focused on dealing damage in battles like the Ultimate Battles or Champion Stadium or whatever else, and in that area he does do very well. So overall, not a bad investment for the Tech EX role. I definitely do not regret it. I'm glad, and honestly, even if he wasn't that great, I still would have been fine with the investment anyway, just because I do like the Shiny Suicune, and honestly, Eusine's theme is great, and as a character, Masters has really done a lot to improve Eusine, at least in my opinion. But yeah, that's my thoughts about Eusine and Suicune as a sync pair with their Tech EX role upgrade. Let me know what you think about them down in the comments below, and I'll see you all later.